Sonic speed. Is he fast? Can he be faster? How the hell do people even control this guy? It's wild! That's not an insult for the record. That's me being impressed. In the 2000s, nothing was more mesmerizing to me than gawking at my cousins pulling off speedy tricks and stunts in 3D console Sonic games. Being a handheld purist, who couldn't get many turns on the family GameCube, I always yearned for a modern Sonic of that degree of control and perfectionism that I could play for myself on my portable toys that played Yoshi's Island. The advanced games on GBA gave me a taste of that modern Sonic groove, with the slick character artistry by Yuji Uekawa of the Sonic Adventures, and even gameplay elements inspired by what you can do in those games. But that subset of games was more focused on repurposing and reinvigorating the game design of the classic Genesis games. What I want to focus on for this video is what followed up that trilogy, when developer Dimps Corporation broke the sound barrier and broke new ground for the Blue Blur's handheld rep and even the console games from then on. An all-new, modern Sonic style in 2D and in 2 screens, where not only can you do tricks and stunts, but its new powerful ability would go on to define modern Sonic. This is 2005 Sonic Rush. An exhilarating handheld excursion for the Blue Blur that paved the way for a subset of games I'd grow up with and grow to love, the modern Sonic Boost games. Play as Sonic, sporting a hype-ass, angular 3D character sprite as he boosts and performs mid-air dance combos across several tall zones while crossing paths with a new playable character, Blaze the Cat, the one cat character of the Sonic series that hasn't been memed to death. This is a stylish retrospective on the original DS game, its standout gameplay and aesthetic inclusions, its surprisingly uplifting and world-expanding story, and also some of the speed bumps it had to meet along the way. It's right there, so let's ride on. Let's we go, amigo. Sonic Rush deserves credit for exemplifying the first working draft of what playing an overpowered Sonic the Hedgehog could feel like. Classic and Dreamcast-era Sonic had always been capable of reaching great speeds, but what about the invincible bullet of destruction that was implied in stuff like automated sections and animated cutscenes? The boost was an exciting way to make that power fantasy a playable reality. A supersonic dash, or a burst of flames in the case of Blaze, activated with a press of a button and getting you to top speed while breaking through every enemy and obstacle in your path. A gauge of this boost power is filled by defeating enemies, getting items, or performing air combos, finishers, and tricks when bouncing off springs and launching off ramps. Even when you grind, you gotta dance to earn that fuel. That's what the G stands for. Sure, it may not be as practical and ingenious as the rolling ball physics of his Genesis-era games, but I really dig how speed is materialized in this game. It's like an addictive power-up that has both an expendable and offensive element to it. The boost system is referred to as the tension gauge, building up based on how much action you're performing on screen and how often you perform actions. Getting the gauge to its maximum elevates it into an overdrive state, granting you indefinite boost energy as long as you keep the action going. Whereas reaching a dull point in your run without any enemies to destroy or tricks to perform will deplete boost energy. Oh, and that's the main gameplay draw. The boost is efficient as an attack and to stride through roads easier, but it can also be your downfall for using it improperly or not having access to it at all. The key is not as simple as boost to win, but to find the picturesque moments to effectively use the boost and thoroughly finesse yourself through the level. The Y button is like a key on a piano you press at the right time. It's a precious one, but you can't win by spamming it. It's fun to abuse the boost, but it's precious in quantity and has some smart utility to escalate obstacles and effectively reach new heights and shortcuts. This was a feat I actually learned to appreciate when recording for this video. As a kid, I'd play Sonic Rush as straight as I could, just going with the flow, always taking the same low effort route and meeting the minimum of what the game expected of me. I got my gears turning when playing Rush nowadays, and it opened a lot more speedrunning potential than I realized. There were so many moments where I could just break the entire intended path, or cut through some of a level's fat by boost jumping, or pressing R to perform a quick momentum-halting pelvic thrust at a good angle. I swear it even feels like the game can't handle the moments you boost, like how it makes some obstacles fast forward to absurd tempos. And in the second act of the altitude limit level, I realized that boosting makes me invincible to spikes on rails, so I could just do this. Now that's some alpha game Murph stuff. It's fun to find those shortcuts when you have such a powerful tool that's readily available and can react gloriously to level geometry and props. Blaze in particular has so much horizontal and vertical potential thanks to her hovering fire ability and her magnificent upper aerial trick. While she may not be as fast as Sonic on ground, she's arguably more flexible and acrobatic in the air, and the kind of heights and shortcuts she can pull off makes her the most reliable option at times. A great way to show the potential of what thinking outside the intended path can achieve in this new dash-centric 2D Sonic formula. Sure, these levels aren't really crafted around momentum anymore. At times, it's obvious to feel how the physics have been altered to prioritize getting to top speed right away, and consequently making your characters feel like they're gliding on the ground. But I commend how the level design succeeds in rewarding top speed and efficiency. Sonic and Blaze are constantly running at steep and tall angle tubes that often go against gravity and have so many launching opportunities just to let their dance combos go nuts. You kinda need that sort of instantaneous power and acceleration to make it through levels that stretch so far out like these. The game is about extreme antics, and the dual screen nature of the game gives a better perspective on how high octane things can get at times. Like, boss chase you a lot in this game, like they're just pissed. So rather than the practical pinball table philosophy of classic level design, you can consider this game like a series of roller coaster skate park hybrids, built around domino effects and cool tricks. Different and technically unfaithful, but far from being bad and unwelcome. At the end of the day, I was impressed to have Sonic gameplay with a gratuitous and destructive ability, one that influences speedrunning habits, score bonus earning tendencies, and unreal side-scrolling feats. Even a Sonic soundtrack that incorporated modern funk and samples for the first time, it breathed new youthful energy to this game, courtesy of Jet Set Radio composer and Family Guy funny moment man, Hideki Naganuma. Fun fact, did you know that Crash Bandicoot and Sonic Rush both sample the national percussion group of Kenya? Have a listen. Sonic Rush is a fun time when you feel the rush, but when it forces you to drag things out and inhibits your freedom, it's not the rush I like. I can praise a lot of the unique stage obstacles for opening up trick opportunities, rewarding effective boost usage, or generally just being fast and fun set pieces that ebb and flow with the boost gameplay. But then there's a lot of obstacles that blatantly disrupt that speedrunning high you could be having consistently. Altitude Limit in particular has a plethora of bottomless pits, fragile rockets leaving you vulnerable to enemies, and 3D paraglider sections with sluggish gliding controls and gotcha moments for not getting the depth of incoming enemies down. The constant beat-em-up sections that the game makes you do are okay, since it's just a time challenge where a quick spin dash, jumps, or even your boost can make quick work of enemies. But this auto-scrolling boat section in Mirage Road, where you just fight enemies and dodge boulders on a slow-moving boat, is much worse. You're just forced into an auto-scrolling section, and for whatever mind-boggling reason, they make you do it again on a 3D plane of movement. What was this? The testing ground for a Streets of Rage Sonic crossover? I mean, this year they did plant the seeds for something like that. And then there's the insistence upon using this control scheme for blocky platforming. It's when the glide-like physics that the game is engineered with really get exposed for what they aren't made for. Not that this system can't do platforming, but when you do, it's the most uneventful, floating platform suspended above a bottomless pit variety, and it feels like a cheap trick. Little ingenuity or finesse to performing these, you just just jump and hope you don't slip off and fail your run because of how basic they are. And don't even get me started on the boss fights. They're epic in scope, and I really like the hybrid creature designs of some of these Eggman's robots. But they just take way too long to get an opening for attack and have way too much health. You can't even boost in these fights, so all you really find yourself doing is running in circles by Post Malone until you're either allowed to land a hit or fail to get it in time and make the pattern repeat again. The only ones I remotely liked were the Night Carnival boss, since you get a lot of opportunities to hit the boss's weakness and hit him fast, and the rival battle between Sonic and Blaze, since it's just an all-out brawl. Has a really good pitch mode too. And again, fast, gratifying action is where this game shines. May sound superficial, but there's a kick in playing a Sonic game where you're urged to keep scrolling and keep the action going, as long as you have responsive and variable mechanics at your command. Rush is a good side-scrolling action game. It's twitchy and filled with domino effects that get me hyped to replay it over and over, but I don't get hyped when it limits my player expression to tedious functions. Not to mention, and this is going to be a bit of a nitpick, aside from some standout levels like a Greek-themed aquatic ruin type zone and Metal Harbor returning, we're mostly dealing with souped up classic level themes: the forest level, the pyramid level, the carnival level, and a random space level by the end, because Eggman is just always waiting in space in a makeshift death egg, I guess. Don't need to question his financial decisions. This kind of grab-bag classic game theming was excusable in the Advanced Trilogy, but in this instance, it's a bit bothersome that none of them have any real relevance or cohesion to the story, or even the stuff concerning Blaze's dimension, which we'll get to promptly. Rush is a much-needed step forward in the formula. All they had to do was polish it, originify it, and contextualize it. Keep the platforming to an inobtrusive minimum, give more attention, and make more fun set pieces that keep the faster pace going and make my sprinting avatar feel at home, and don't be afraid to indulge more on the story behind the levels you play. That's one quality of the console Sonic games that had yet to be fully realized in a handheld counterpart. It's why I definitely view the game, while pretty fun, to be more of a stepping stone towards greater things, and even though it also suffers from being compact and traditional, how about we talk about the chill narrative that this game brings to the table? We have a story about alternate universes colliding with each other to disrupt the space-time continuum. But that's not important, not nearly as much as getting to know the new playable character of this game, Blaze the Cat, the princess of the Soul Dimension, who is tasked to guard the Soul Emeralds and inherits the power of flames, to which she views them as a curse to her character. Due to her disposition, she's been heavily isolated and self-disciplined for most of her life. When Eggman steals these Soul Emeralds for himself and tasks his alternate universe counterpart, Dr. Eggman Nega, to steal his world's Chaos Emeralds alongside him, Blaze finds herself in Sonic's world and essentially acts as an outsider looking within. She sees how friendly and outgoing Sonic's friends are, and how trusting they are that Sonic can not only save the day like he always does, but is also willing to support Blaze in her crusade if she just opens up about it. Unfortunately, her initial moments in Sonic's world have her acting cold, formal, and impulsive with this community of mutuals. She refuses to open up to Cream the Rabbit of all people, and she even scoffs at the idea of needing Sonic to help her. This is why every time you beat a boss fight as Blaze, she straight up kicks the Soul Emerald out of Eggman, rather than going to some special stage to retrieve them. What I like about the story is how it puts Sonic's reputation as a town hero of sorts into perspective, and how it helps new characters grow alongside him. When you play as Sonic, his campaign is as forward-thinking to the end as it gets. It must be Eggman's fault, so let's just get to him. But playing as Blaze makes you observe a lot of the communal trust that characters like Knuckles, Tails, Amy, and Cream have with Sonic. Moments like Knuckles noticing Blaze collecting emeralds and advising her to give them to Sonic, or Sonic in their inevitable rival battles saying things like, "I admire your fortitude, but are you really going to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders?" are moments that show me just how much Sonic as a character has matured and how his selflessness has resonated with his friends and Blaze herself. It's not as simple as just, "Yeah, the real superpower of teamwork," or "My friends are my power, you cretin," but it's that just because you're tasked to be a heroic figure doesn't mean mean that it's a burden of yours to carry alone. There's a level of trust and balance here. I always loved when DS games dealt with themes of duality and supporting one another through a video gamey bond. And since we're dealing with alternate universes, it's a good way for this new character to match up to the standard of Sonic's. The Chaos Emeralds are as important and powerful as the Soul Emeralds. Eggman is as menacing and confounding in his world as Eggman Nega, and likewise, Blaze has the same level of potential as Sonic's role does to his world. And because of that, Sonic's heroics and reputation have an influence on Blaze. She starts to learn how to chill out with the gang and have funny moments. She soon learns the value of having Cream as a friend and goes out of her way to save her when she gets kidnapped by Eggman. And the most important part, I feel, is when she finally learns how to progress beyond just being a guardian for the Soul Emeralds and actually uses their power for herself to be a hero. Despite the Eggmen draining the emeralds of their luster by the end, Sonic teaches her that the positive energy of the emeralds will always be something that she can channel, which is a nice nod to the end of Sonic Adventure, where Sonic had to learn the same thing when fighting Perfect Chaos.
Negative forces aren't the only way to empower the Chaos Emeralds. Our positive feelings toward each other can make them work.
It leads to a great final story where she realizes her own super form known as Burning Blaze, a form that's literally lit, but it's a sign that she's finally let go of the idea of her flames being a curse, but a power she can manifest and control to make things right.
How is that?
As someone who is not only stubbornly introverted, but also a bit hard on themselves when it comes to work and discipline, I find myself relating to Blaze a lot. It put a smile on my face to see a narrative where she not only finds more meaning and control of her own self, but also gets inspired to do this by being friends with Sonic and seeing how cool of a guy he is. A nice uplifting story for any kid who found comfort growing up with the series. Now, while the premise and dialogue moments are definitely there and hit the right way, I unfortunately feel that the actual story unfolding in-game doesn't fully articulate the scope of the adventure. A lot of what I've just analyzed mostly reveals itself towards the end of both Sonic and Blaze's campaigns and their final story, whereas the majority of their campaigns are just too rudimentary, too fitting of a classic game setup for the level of story unfolding. Going to a random zone to fight a random boss fight with the Eggmen awaiting. They get their ass kicked, they move on to the next random zone, and in between, some brief and kinda inconsequential cutscenes happen. For Sonic, it's about making obvious remarks with Tails about how their world is getting impacted. We gotta go to this spot of the world map and yell briefly about this to make that apparent. It's not a charming hub world or a place we can interact or chill in, it's just a spot to yell dialogue in. It's a rock. For Blaze, it's about tolerating diversions with Sonic's friends until she learns to open up, which is cute and fine, I guess. But despite how I've praised the communal, lighthearted aspect of Sonic's friends, I'm kind of baffled by how no one remarks about the space-time continuum being messed with, how the stages don't really have any relevance to this worldwide problem, or how characters like Amy, Knuckles, and even arguably Tails and Cream don't have a more impactful role in this story, considering how involved they were in the previous handheld installment. All you really get to see are haha funny antics with these nosy neighbor, cheerleader versions of the characters, this wavy Mode 7 effect on the world map, and an arbitrary counter telling you how much of the world is merging with Blaze's world, and that's about it. While the attention to fluffy character interactions is okay, I don't think it supports the bigger picture. I think if the cutscenes had more stakes going for them and were executed less lackadaisical about the crisis occurring, I find myself really praising the story and the things it brings to the table, rather than just praising the emotional bits, Blaze's development, and the last-minute details revealed about Sonic's world and its relation to the Soul Dimension. All great ideas, I just want more focus on what's happening. I wanted to find out more about Blaze's Soul Dimension and what makes it unique and equivalent to the worth of Sonic's. This is definitely a much bigger premise than the flavor text of the advanced games, but it needed better framing. Sonic Rush is a thrilling game with a world-bending premise that just needs to be a bit more indulgent on the new things it's doing to really hit its stride. Stuff like the new gameplay additions, the deliberate changes to differentiate itself from classic game design, the heavily stylized soundtrack, and the greater detail of the game's story make me understand the drastic jump that Dimps was trying to achieve with the Sonic formula in this game. For a handheld title, that's pretty impressive, especially for how it would later inspire Sonic Team themselves in their own 3D console Sonic games. The boost gameplay set a remarkable precedent for what a powerful and layered Sonic control scheme could feel like, and the addition of Blaze is a tremendous way to expand on world building while introducing an empathetic new character that also reinforces the amiable impact of its titular character. However, the game has some shortcomings with its obtrusive obstacles, uninspired platforming sections, a functional but unremarkable level-by-level structure, and the hampering of a chill story presentation that functions on an emotional level but fails to give this promising narrative complete breadth. But as we'll see in this next series of stylish retrospectives that I have planned, from here on, the modern Sonic Boost games would find better ways to enter exciting ground while structuring and complementing its newfound overpowered gameplay, which we will definitely address when next time we look at Sonic Rush Adventure. But at this point, I have nothing but respect for the instantaneous joyride that mostly comprises Sonic Rush. I'll continue to obsess over S ranks and time attack runs, and dance to Ska-Cha-Cha until the day I die.
Should we try this again?